Looks like it's been a fairly decent lap for Heya. As you see him coming out of the corner, it's important to get a good exit out of there because it leads onto the long back straight of Sector 3. But Dungeon is on a lap as well, as we see him now coming into turn 17. He misses the apex there slightly, but it's been a clean lap for him as well otherwise. As you see him now coming through the final two corners, keeping it on the right hand side, opening up DRS, and it's a 22-4. So that's a very good first lap of the session, setting a high benchmark for the other drivers to beat. But his teammate Heya 5/10 off. But the Silver Arrows are starting off strong, both of them into the 22s. Does Weissai have an answer to the Mercedes duo through turn 17? It's not the best of lines through there, but it's been a decent lap otherwise. But he only has 2 green sectors. But is this going to be enough for pole position? I don't think it is. But what's it going to be? It's a 23-0, 6/10 off Dungeon on pole position. So Weissai looks to be lacking a bit of pace here in Miami. Weissai now on his second attempt, coming through turn 17, he takes a much better line through there than his previous lap. But is this going to be enough to dethrone the Mercedes from pole position? Coming across the line, what is it going to be? It's going to be a 22-4. So it's an improvement in his time, but not in position. But there's still 5 minutes left in the qualifying session, so he still has enough time for another attempt. Heya looking to improve his lap time as well, coming across the line. Can he extend his advantage over the field? And yes he can, as he sets a 21-9. What an incredible lap that was. I didn't expect to see anybody going into the 21s, but Heya has managed to do it, and that's definitely going to spice up the championship battle as TXH in the V-Carb goes up into P4 with a 22-9. So that's a very impressive lap by him as well. Lewis in the McLaren, is he going to make it across the line in time to start another lap? Yes he does, he makes it with a few seconds to spare. But this is going to be the final lap attempt for the drivers here. Dungeon now coming into the chicane, he cuts the curbs very nicely there, but that's going to be a 28.2 middle sector. It is an improvement for him, but he's still around a 10th off Heya, so he's going to need to improve in this final sector if he wants a shot at pole position. But that's going to be a very tall order to ask, considering there's basically only one corner here in this final sector. But through turn 17, he takes a very nice line through there, cuts the curb almost perfectly, but through the final two corners and onto the back straight, he opens up DRS, and what is it going to be? It's going to be a 22-0. So he got close, but not close enough, and Lewis in the McLaren goes up into P5 with his late lap. But that's going to be it for qualifying. The starting grid for the Miami Grand Prix is a front row lockout for Mercedes, with Weissai rounding up the top 3. But will Mercedes be able to continue their dominance into the race? Well, we're going to find out now. 5 lights out, and the Miami Grand Prix is underway. Heya getting a good launch off the line ahead of his teammate Dungeon, but through turn 1 is still a Mercedes 1-2, but Weissai actually gets a really poor run through there, and he's now gotten overtaken by the V-Carb of TXH. So TXH doing a really good job so far, but coming back to the front of the field, Heya is leading ahead of his teammate Dungeon, and through the S's of Sector 1, Heya is extending that gap more and more, and he's made a 3/10 gap to his teammate. But Weissai has actually fallen behind Heya by an entire second, so that could be crucial in this championship battle. But Weissai, he's actually on the hard tyres compared to everyone else around him on the mediums, so that could explain why he has such a big pace disadvantage compared to the drivers in front of him. But through the second sector into the slowest section of the track, Heya is absolutely flying through there as he gets a bit of a moment through the chicane, as does Weissai. But Heya, he's actually made a 6/10 gap to his teammate, and Weissai has fallen behind Heya by 2 seconds there. So these hard tyres are definitely not doing him any favours now. But we have an incredible battle now for P5. We have this gaggle of cars here, but Moto, he's able to brake late, and he takes the apex nicely there, and he's able to get the undercut on a few drivers there, and he's actually got ahead of all of them for P5. But it's still such an incredibly close battle for this position. Plane in the McLaren now getting up into P5, So this battle is still ongoing a lap later. So it looks like the top 4 drivers just seem to be pulling away slightly, but it looks like there's a bit of a DRS train forming here. But Moto, he doesn't have DRS and he could be looking to lose a few positions here. He's lost 2 positions already and he could be looking to lose a 3rd. But coming into turn 17, he takes the corner nicely there. But Jerry Pecco now, he's got a much better run out of the exit than Flamed Souls in the Aston Martin. And onto the start-finish straight, Jerry has got the move done for P5, but there's still absolutely nothing to separate these drivers here. So this pack of drivers just seems to be separating slightly, as it's now a 5-way battle for P5, but the Williams of Khan is having a look down the inside on Jerry Pecco, but he's not able to get the move done as he actually hits the wall on the exit there, and that's going to cost him some momentum coming down the start-finish straight, and he could be under pressure from Maxi and Moto. But now coming into turn 1, Jerry and Plane are side by side with each other battling for position, but Plane is able to get the switchback done on Jerry and he's actually pulling ahead of him as we now coming into the essence of sector 1. But can Jerry do anything to get back ahead and retake the position? No, he can't. He's actually falling away from him, so Plane seems to have a bit more confidence in these corners. The battle for the win is still on as Dungeon is only 6/10 away from Heya, but Dungeon actually gets a track limit penalty there. That's a really odd place to get a track limit penalty, but that's going to bring both YSI and TXH into the battle for P2. So TXH could be looking at getting his first ever podium here in AWC, but it looks like I might have spoken a bit too early because TXH gets a track limit penalty as well coming out of turn 1, but he can't afford to make any more mistakes like that, because if he does, he could be looking at falling down maybe 4 or 5 positions. Moto battling with Maxi for P5. Usually we expect to see Moto battling for the podium, but not this time, as Jerry actually crashes into the wall there. Jerry just looks like he had some chronic understeer coming into the hairpin, but unfortunately that's going to be Jerry out of the Miami Grand Prix. Heya now coming into the pit lane on the medium tyres, now going onto the softs. Dungeon coming in as well. What is he going to go on to? He's going to go on to the soft tyres as well. So both Mercedes on the same strategy, probably on a 2-stop, but YSI staying out on the hard tyres. He's probably on a 1-stop, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. In less than a lap's time, Heya has actually already caught up to YSI, so on the fresher tyres he's going to be able to get the move done relatively easily, but right now it looks like the 2-stop strategy is definitely the better decision. YSI now coming into the pit lane for his one and only stop on this race. They're going to go onto the medium tyres and Moto is coming in as well. And Moto, he actually loses his front wing on the pit entry there. So Moto just carrying a bit too much speed coming in, and that's going to cost him maybe 5 or 6 seconds in his pit stop, because he's going to have to replace his front wing. So that minor misjudgment could cost Moto a position coming towards the end of the race. Dungeon and YSI both battling it out for P2. Heya has driven off into the distance and I think he's got the race win secured unless he manages to make a catastrophic mistake, but I don't think there's any chance of that happening anytime soon. But Dungeon, he's on the soft tyres and he looks like he's got a lot more grip than YSI on the mediums, but they both get DRS and YSI is not going to give up that easily. This position is crucial for him in his battle for the Drivers' Championship. As they now come into the second sector, Dungeon goes a bit wide there, but YSI is holding on those medium tyres and now coming into the chicane. Both the drivers getting a bit of oversteer on the exit, but coming onto the back straight, Dungeon has managed to get the move done for P2. Heya has completely dominated this weekend. Pole position, fastest lap, and he's led every single lap of the Grand Prix, and he's now going to take the race win here as well. Heya makes it a second Grand Slam of the season here in Miami, and he retakes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. What a sensational performance that was. But Dungeon, he's now going to make it his second podium here in AWC, and he's going to make it the first Mercedes 1-2 of the season as well. And YSI, he's going to round out the podium in a slightly disappointing P3. a front row lockout in qualifying and a 1-2 in the race. It's been a perfect weekend for Mercedes, and it's been a perfect weekend for Haya, who now moves back ahead of YSI in the Drivers' Championship.